giving people opportunities. I think that's what it's all about, is just to give these folks an opportunity to express their art through this medium is so very important to us, and we're so thrilled to be able to do it through the Big Tell.
I feel like it's left a legacy of love on the community.
Film has been a part of my life ever since I was young, and it's something I've enjoyed. I would encourage anyone out there, even if you have barely any experience doing filmmaking, to tell your story.
Having the Big Tell and community support, all the community partners, is such an integral part of raising the new generation of filmmakers.
I'm hyped because I can't wait to see it on the big screen.
In 2017, we noticed that there was a lack of stories being told right here in our valley. And so the Central Valley Community Foundation wrapped their minds together and said, we are going to be able to support a local film or some type of storytelling being told. So that's when that's how the Big Tell became the Big Tell.
And it's just a huge help for local filmmakers who, again, don't really have access to those kinds of resources locally to be able to practice their art and to tell the stories that they want to tell. So we're so excited to be able to do that through the Big Tell.
And these stories are often unheard by mainstream media, so it's a great opportunity for people to share their own lived experience through filmmaking.
Then it was up to them to use their big ideas to highlight some of the disparities, some of the economic injustices, the social injustices, the environmental injustices that we're experiencing in the Central Valleys. And it was up to them to create scripts and to do storytelling about the people that are living in the Central Valleys through their incredible films. They had an incredible group of mentors training them to become documentarians.
Supporting the arts is critical for our future. We need to be able to communicate, we need to be able to celebrate one another, and supporting the arts is a way to celebrate life and celebrate all the different communities and viewpoints, and it really is kind of a nourishment for the soul.
I hope through the Big Tell that folks who watch these films, whether it's in our broadcast showcase or theatrically, that they get inspired, not only inspired to improve their community in whatever way they can, but hopefully also be inspired to tell stories themselves.
Supporting storytelling is not only a way to preserve the rich history of the people of the Central Valley, but to also celebrate it.
I would like to thank our team at CMAC, our continuous funders, Jay-Z McClatchy Foundation, our newest funder, KDA. Without your support, the Big Tell will not be able to continue. And because we care so much about the Central Valley, we care about the stories being told, we care about who lives here. We love our valley so much, and we're gonna do whatever it takes to support our valley. The Central Valley Community Foundation care so much, and without our supporters, without our funders, without you, the filmmakers, we wouldn't be able to continue this work being done.
In the video, Tara mentions they're not federally recognized, but they're gonna move forward anyways, which is such an act of anarchy and rebellion, because these things that need to happen aren't gonna be held up with bureaucracy or waiting around for the feds. They're doing stuff here and now, hands on the ground. So really summing up 500 years of tribal issues in 5 minutes. It was challenging but fun. And again, the more opportunities we get for people to engage the tribe, to realize when they come and visit Yosemite, you're on native land. Halito, my name is Jennifer Robin. I am Choctaw, and I am here with the Southern Sierra Miwok Tribal Secretary, Tara Fouchmore. This year's 2023 Big Tell film is called
Walapu Uchutu,
and it covers the tribe's efforts to restore and help our pollinator relatives.
Walapu Uchutu. We live in a town called Mariposa. Its namesake is the butterfly. And that just goes to show how prevalent these beautiful pollinator creatures and relatives were at the time of settlement.
You used to see hundreds, and whenever you went out someplace, they were always there. And when you don't see them anymore, it starts making me sad.
There used to be a time where you could go down to Wakalmuto, is what we call the Merced River, just flooded with butterflies.
Pollinators are the insects that do the service of pollinating a plant by visiting one flower and another flower and then transferring pollen and leading to sexual reproduction in the next generation of plants.
Butterflies have specific host plants that they need in order to complete their life cycle. You can find the eggs and the caterpillars all hanging out on those milkweed plants and munching away until they can become adults.
Butterflies start hatching and start eating on the basket tree material, and that's their food. And after they're gone, then the basket tree material is harvested and we can use it.
Milkweed, for example, that's what would be used as cordage. And the other pollinator plants, that's our food and that's our medicine and that's our basketry material.
Here's some mugwort, and there's some mint behind me, and that one's also being visited by a bunch of bumblebees and butterflies. Every plant and animal, even the rocks, is interconnected, and it's all related in some way or another.
Invasive plants have the capacity to change the composition of that plant and animal community long term.
Things that were brought over during colonization, they get a foothold here, and then they start spreading, and they start outcompeting the native flora or the native animals, the fauna.
When they use the basket material, they put it in their mouth to split it. So if it's been sprayed with pesticide, that's going directly into your body. It's harmful to you, it's harmful to the plant, it's harmful to the animals.
Depending on the chemical, it could be systemic, which means that it'll travel up through the plant and stay and persist.
Monarch butterflies are experiencing drastic population declines. In the western United States, it's like 99.9% of monarch butterflies that existed in the 1980s don't occur anymore. We are potentially seeing the total collapse of monarch butterflies. A monarch butterfly will be flying around and the milkweed is all gone. They're just going to keep on flapping around until they either find milkweed or they die. When we're talking about species and extinction, it's about forever.
With the butterfly, it's a little thing, but yet it can be enormous. Because we don't have any land base, it's destroying a lot of the property and a lot of the stuff that we gather. If we were federally recognized, I think we probably would have a little more say on that.
The tribe was violently removed from the Yosemite Valley for the formation of the National Park Service. Because of that, their treaty was not ratified.
We're still getting federal recognition, but we're moving forward with or without it.
Any piece of land has the opportunity to host life, to host biodiversity. It is meaningful for the rest of life to have spaces to exist in, whether it's huge Yosemite National Park or somebody's backyard.
Mariposa Creek Project is a partnership between the tribe, the Sierra Foothill Conservancy, and the county. We partner with Cersei Society and Mariposa Native Plants, replanting pollinator plants within the oak fire scar to get that habitat back thriving. This beautiful creek, which was home to our people for millennia and was ravaged during the gold rush. The tribe's role in it is to restore habitat, but also restore these plants that are important to us for our culture. We are the first stewards of this area. We should be the ones who are at the forefront of healing our homelands, healing the Sierras, helping our relatives to thrive.
The basket itself will outlive us. And so what we create outliving us also becomes this really powerful tool of resistance to colonization.
Zone is a documentary that looks at redlining, and that was a practice from mostly the 1930s before the Fair Housing Act in 1968. And what I'm interested in with this film is looking at how the past has really impacted how we live in our environments today. For me as a filmmaker, it's my responsibility to bring honest work, honest stories that get completely overlooked, because race is an issue in America. And so for me as a filmmaker, the camera is my instrument. Storytelling is my soul. It's how I engage in my community. And if I'm not doing it and other people are not doing it, then those stories, they just get buried and they get put away. As a filmmaker, it is my biggest goal to continue to tell the truth in all sorts of mediums and genres. And that's what really keeps me fired up. Hi, I'm Ripon Cinder, and I'm the filmmaker of Zone. This is a documentary about redlining and its lasting impacts on society.
This is the richest ag land in the United States, if not the world. Tucked inside that bounty is an extraordinary kind of poverty. And the poverty has existed for as long as the land has been farmed. To understand redlining, you have to go back a century and a quarter to the beginnings of the Farm Belt here, because that's when the inequality became carved into the land. In Fresno, there were real estate covenants which essentially said, in certain parts of town, the better parts of town, if you were a certain color or ethnic background, you were banned from living there. When a place starts out that way, when that kind of racism is cut into the ground, it never quite leaves, or it's very tough to make it leave.
In some ways, those that lost in the Civil War were seeking to create something new and to recreate the South, but now in the West.
The vestiges of that racism are loud and clear everywhere you drive in this place. The suburban wealth, just a few miles away from an extreme version of urban poverty and then rural poverty. Let's take a 20-minute drive in Fresno. You start on the north end of town where these compounds are walled off and there's these mega churches. And this is the wealthy part of Fresno where everybody's fled north to the river. And then you drive about 8-10 miles and you land in downtown Fresno. And those two zip codes, the life expectancy drops 20 years as you're traveling those 10 miles.
I think in many ways, geographies are part of a cultural imagining of who's included and who is not. You create sense of belonging if you see yourself in the geography of where you live, where you play, where you go to work. The past is present, and the present is tied to the past. You have to invest in the margins. If we're ever going to close these sort of gaps, those that have been most marginalized, that is where the investment has to occur. It's really about decision makers in Fresno, and they will only do so if there's a push and pull from the grassroots holding them to accountability. Your real power in terms of lowercase d democracy is what you do at the most community level.
There's definitely a new generation in Fresno. Change is happening. It's not coming, it's happening. It was an opportunity to paint community warriors. I can only paint so many murals. You know, I try and make sure that my brushstrokes have the maximum impact by partnering with people who are also doing good in their community. A lot of these neighborhoods historically have always been divided in certain ways, and public art murals are just a great way to redraw those lines. You know, all of a sudden the lines don't matter. We're putting up artwork, we're putting up culture.
There is something happening here. There is a revitalization.
Will it be co-opted, or will it be able to have a life of itself? That's a question that many of us are trying to answer and hopefully even trying to shape.
My hope for Fresno's landscape is that that line between north and south ends up becoming blurred in a way.
My film, Riding Low, goes into the lowrider scene, and it addresses it from a historical standpoint where we get a little bit of context. You know, we dive into a few artists and lowrider lovers and kind of get to pick their brain on exactly what it is that they love about the culture. And, you know, not that many people have as much spare time as we'd like. So why is this what they choose to do? And for some of them, they've been in it for decades. So it's cool to see what they've done, how they've grown in it, and why they love it so much. And I'm hyped because I can't wait to see it on the big screen. What is up, y'all? My name is Cruz Gonzalez, a filmmaker from Fresno, California. Up next, you guys are gonna watch my short documentary, Riding Low, where we check out the beautiful life of lowriders. Get cozy, get comfortable, and enjoy.
Oh man, lowrider's the best thing there is, you know. As a youngster, when I was young, when I was about 12 and 13, I had a bike club, and you know, we went everywhere. We were sunsetters from Sunset. I like to cruise a lot. I like to cruise to the park, you know, take the family with me, my grandkids. We just like to be out there. We just like to be out there. You know, among people, we take our cars out there, and then people come and they check our cars out and this and that. And so
you can go back into the 1930s, and it was the involvement of the car, and what it will evolve out of that is the idea of customizing your car. Having a sharp ride was important. You were driving around, you were cruising, and you were cruising to be seen, and it was truly about making it an event, making it something that was happening. It's unfolded. If you're in it, you're proud about it, and you're saying, yeah, you know what, I have a custom car, or I have a lowrider, or you would even say, you know, I have a 68. And you don't even have to finish the sentence, because anybody that knows what you're talking about knows you have a 68 Impala. And you look at the art aspect. And I think there's many people that look at the art aspect related to lowrider cars, and they're in awe. The mural scenes, the paint designs, the amount of work that goes into customizing a car, and I think that amazes some people.
But you know, you're proud of it, what all the hard work you did to get that thing done, knowing that somebody, you know, paid me to do something that they dig that I do. And that day comes where I can't do it no more. I'll still be proud of myself because my stuff was still around here.
And Chicano art is American art, and it needs to represent many artists, including muralists in the 1970s and 80s, couldn't get their stuff into a museum because the museums weren't, showing their stuff, weren't part of the exhibits.
I was trying to be a sign painter, but every time I went there, when I was 18 years old, and I had, like I said, I was a graffiti artist, so I was used to lettering. So, and then a friend of mine taught me how to do by brush. And then I used to go to sign shops here in Fresno, and they would deny me because I didn't go to school for art. I would show them my portfolio of my artwork that I drew, and they would say, that's not art.
And it says, you know what, I'm going to take my images and I'm going to put them on a car because it's my car, or this person wants me to put it on their car.
If you buy a car, you buy it from somebody, it's not your car. You know what I mean? It still belongs to that person you bought it from. So it's better to get it, sand it down, do what you got to do, repaint it, get it all graphics muraled out the way you want it.
That car right there, when I first got it, I paid $40. I paid $40 for that car. It was all beat up. Because a lot of people, they come out with some nice cars, and that's the way they buy them. That's the way they buy them,
I enjoyed knowing that, I could, 3 years later, I go to a car show or just walk around the neighborhood and I see the car that I did. I said, man, I remember that.
So you have artists that are presenting on a canvas that happens to be metal and also happens to ride around in a lowrider show. If you don't know, you perhaps see a lowrider and you make some perhaps presumptions, assumptions, judgments. Part of it is how the public just needs to be educated and take a closer look at, gee, what do they really do? Or how do they contribute to the community in a positive way? And I think you'll see many positive ways.
I've always had my family involved. All my grandkids, they enjoy that. That's things to have it in the future, as memories. And once I'm gone, they're gonna see all that.
Yeah, to me, it's family, friends, and just it's unity, man. It's a culture, a real life culture. You can kick back and enjoy yourself, listen to music, look at some nice cars. Everybody having a good time. It should always be going forward. It should never stop. And it's good to keep the family going. That's why I like seeing these car shows and the kickbacks like this when you got the family, the kids, the mom, dad, uncles, aunts, family. So that's to me, that's what lowriding is about.
Is just a lot of stories in the Central Valley that aren't known outside of this region, and Manuel Nolga's story is a perfect example of that. And it definitely, made me feel limited in filmmaking in terms of not being able to capture that. But hopefully we were able to present a glimpse of it.
I'm hoping that the youth that has worked with us for the last 25 years, now they are adults. I'm hoping that they will maintain it because they were part of this. It's their history also. And I'm hoping that they will have an interest in continuing this after Manuel and I are long gone.
Hi, my name is Tim Tai, and my film is Mi Casa y Tu Casa. The film is about Wood Lake Botanical Garden, a beautiful green space here that they created along with many generations of youth volunteers.
My name is Olga Jimenez. This is my husband, Manuel Jimenez.
Wood Lake is in Tulare County, California, and we're just about a half hour southwest of the entrance to Sequoia National Park. People can come visit the gardens, see hundreds and hundreds of rose plants, and then they get to taste. We have close to 200 varieties of stone fruit, 80 varieties of citrus.
We grow vegetables, squash, tropical plants. You wouldn't believe that a mango could grow in the Central Valley, but it does. But Manuel's know-how is what makes it grow.
I call her the butterfly because she'll be weeding, she'll be thinning, she'll be watering.
Manuel and I met while we were both in high school. This little town only has one high school, so there's no way you're gonna miss each other. He was a great hire, And the week after I graduated, we were married.
And a week afterwards, we were picking fruit because she wanted to.
We had to survive, okay?
This is a replica of a living quarters that we would make out of what they call raisin sweat boxes. Every year, we would get to the camp, make walls with the boxes, find some old mattresses, a little cot, and then make a little house out of it. In this first photo, you have my great-grandmother, who was actually native Chumash. She married a Mexican farm worker. And the following photo, that's my grandmother, and that's my mother. They're in the Santa Clara Valley. When they went to that area, they would pick cherries, apricots, and pears.
That's me standing right there, long sleeve and a hat, and these I'm carrying are called frames. And we're eating grapes of all things. You'd think we would be sick of them.
What we try to do is put a good representation of our family up to about maybe 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. And we have something for the kids that come and they think their picture's not up there. We tell them, look right there, and you will see your image. You are included. Back then, everybody would say, when I get out of school, I'm leaving Woodlake. You know, it's dry, it's ugly. You know, there's nothing to appreciate in town. Olga and I, we were probably 21 years old. We decided that we would try to change that.
We started Woodlake Pride, and we started beautification projects.
We picked up trash, covered graffiti, started many little gardens all over town.
The kids were so excited about everything.
It was not our plan to go out there 6 days a week.
But they would call us. And I said, well, we better not disappoint them.
This one right here.
That's you?
Yeah, senior in high school. Almost 20 years ago. The reason I kept coming back was because of Manuel and Olga. Just how great mentors they were, role models.
Manuel and Olga are like a second family to me. They are so inviting to everybody, and they're kind. No matter what you're going through, they will always be there to help you.
The influence that this garden has, I can't really express or quantify, but this had an impact to my life and to many.
I remember all day we had to go row by row as quickly as possible. We had to plant these little saplings, and it's crazy seeing such small saplings grow into these big bees. And it's just crazy seeing how fast they've grown.
So I actually work at Blair Media, and Justin from Blair Media had talked to me about, I have a friend, his name's Brian Medina, he's so cool, he used to be poet laureate. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then when this opportunity came around to make a film, I wanted to make the film about him because he sounded like such an inspiration, because he came from a life with the gangs and he got out of it, and he used poetry as a way to do that. As someone who skipped 2 grades, I definitely felt kind of left out in a lot of things, but doing so has allowed me to find new experiences that I wouldn't have otherwise, like the Big Tell. And so I would say that even if it looks like everybody else around you is right on track, doing everything perfectly, and you're not, it's okay. You'll catch up. You'll make your own life story. Hi, my name is Taylor Quintanar, and this is my film, Finding Voices. It's about S. Brian Medina, who was Fresno County's first Black Poet Laureate, and I really hope that you like it.
The way that I think about Brian, I had just moved to Fresno from San Diego and I didn't know anybody. And I went to a concert and I noticed this guy come through the door. And he's got a stack of flyers this thick. He knows everybody in the whole bar. And he comes by my table and he drops a flyer for the Inner Ear open mic. I was like, this is the dude I need to meet.
I like to think of myself as a spoken word artist that has the ability to reach people where page poets just can't. He called me mother. The thing that I do, it is trying to make a connection that's more than just page. Maybe a soul transfer.
So how do you know Brian Medina?
I've known Brian Medina since 1998. Brian's a very generous and very humble person. Even when someone's praising him as a great artist or whatever, he's gonna push back and say, no, I'm just doing it for the love of it.
This student who came from a life of bad parents, bad school system, no one to love, sat in front of me in my classroom. Mr. Medina, you motherfucker.
Poetry saved my life. I was a severely depressed teenager whose father had passed away when he was 15, attempted suicide, went through all sorts of counseling that I didn't ever feel like did me much good. And then I walked into a creative writing class in high school, and this teacher said, put it on paper.
I've always been a teacher. I come from a family of teachers. And so I got together with Fresno Unified and I found a lovely home at Hoover High. I started writing when I was rather young, dare I say 6 or 7. And the reasons I started writing was I kind of got jumped into gangs. I needed a way to express myself because my father wasn't home. Though he was a great teacher behind closed doors, he was a bit of a monster. Well, he was a monster. And to help get my mom, who was sickly at the time, it was just me, my handicapped brother, and my baby sister, we needed money. And one way to do it was the gangs. I ran drugs. I'm not proud of that time, but I can say I helped us survive. All these emotions started flooding in me, my bad father, me running with the gangs, me trying to get over my disabilities.
When I realized that I could let it go, all of the turmoil that was going on in here and in here came out on the page.
It's like going into a trance, a duende. You find the right words and Brian kind of dies away, and this other thing, Brian Medina, the poet, spoken word guy, comes alive and takes over. And
I think the Inner Ear is one great example. It's one of the longest poetry open mics probably in the country. It's been going on since the early 2000s.
The Inner Ear was our first foray into the live spoken word genre by having an open mic.
The environment that has been created in places like the Inner Ear back in the day and now the Beatdown, I've never seen anybody go in there and speak and come away feeling like they weren't heard.
These people are brave enough to show up and tell their stories. Some heart-wrenchingly sad and desperate. Some hilariously funny that have you laughing so hard you fart. And you can't buy that. And you just sit there and just like, whoa. And I'll tell you what I did. I chose love, and I hugged him. And I hugged him tight, and because I hugged him so tight, he held on to me. We stopped everything.
I've had Brian come up to the high school and perform at our open mics. I know that he understands the heart that I have for those kids.
And they give me the whole spiel. You were in that poetry class, you taught me how to express myself, and you taught me poetry, and these are like years after. I still get bamboozled by it. Just like, why me? Brian Medina, on the other hand, he'll tell you, you know why they come up to you? Because you're real with them. You probably got beat down like them. You showed them that you can become somebody. You showed them how to write and mean it. That's what he would say. And I believe Brian Medina. Brian, he's just happy.
My short film that I'm presenting to you today is called Circa 91. It's about the history of Juneteenth in Madera, California, starting with 1991. This project is just a small fraction of what the whole project was. It's over 30 years worth of footage, and it has a lot of local stories involved into the bigger documentary, but because we only could put 5 minutes into the actual project, you will want to see what the rest has to offer. Hey, what's up, Big Tail? My name is Marquise Perkins. I'm a local filmmaker, producer, man of many talents, and I'm here to present this to you today, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Game. Things have really happened. People have moved away, some stayed. I've came into doing a lot of politics and able to make change for Madera. I ran for city council twice and succeeded. And the things I like is that we're doing things in Madera right now. A lot of folks don't see it, but if you look at it, our community has really grown. We've developed, got houses, got buildings, got things that we're proud of right now, and hopefully that we can continue to grow. It lets us know that we do have our freedom, and somebody finally decided to recognize it and honor it as a holiday. We've always made it a holiday, but to let the world know now that we can really participate in putting this program together, involving more of our young African Americans and all Americans to be a part of this program.
Madera, California, 1991, live from McNally Park. We take a trip into time to revisit one of the most historic days on location. Also known at this time as the infamous Nigga Park. Witness the power of unity inside this prominent black community. After celebrating years of freedom, independence, and liberation from white slave masters, McNally Park is still home to one of the most recognized Juneteenth festivals in California's Central Valley. Juneteenth celebrates African American awareness, amongst many other black traditions, such as fashion, heritage, and music, which creates the most influential culture known in the world today. And even though the newfound national holiday has yet to be widely accepted by various ethnic groups, our people will continue to thrive, regardless.
To know how black people are celebrated. Everybody don't celebrate that day. You know, those are the things that we can take to, you know, our future generations that's coming in order to allow them to know some of the things that we treasure. But walking through the park in that moment was something new. I didn't never really trip on Juneteenth, but that was, you know, something that they did in Madera. And in Pasadena, I never really heard of Juneteenth. It was just another day in a month.
We came from Pasadena, and I was in 6th grade. So to my knowledge, I don't recall, you know, knowing anything about Juneteenth. So coming to Madera, I can say, even though it was small and fast-paced, there was real culture. And it wasn't even big, you know, but for us, that was big. I say for me, that was big. And to know what it means now, like, that's very nostalgic, historical, absolutely necessary.
I'm still doing the Juneteenth celebrations every year. When I looked at it, I saw how small I was. And it brought me back to seeing some of my friends that I don't get to see anymore that have passed away. And it's heartbreaking, but it's a nice video, and I would love to see it again.
In terms of saying to preserve, you know what I'm saying? Just know your worth, know who you are, and don't allow nobody to put you in a box, categorize. You could be more than one thing at the same time.
We have to keep our narrative going. We're not all ratchet, we're not all ghetto. Like, it's some of us out here that's really trying to make a difference and make a mark. And that's the stuff that needs to be portrayed. Like, we're boss women, we're boss men, we're kings, we're queens. If nobody don't tell the story, who's supposed to hear it?
The movie really focuses on the importance of having pride in a small town like Merced, the preciousness of it. For us here, holding pride can really be like an act of activism.
To have visibility in these smaller places that just allows people of all genders and identities to feel like, okay, I'm actually in a place where my home is, and I'm seen, and I can be, and I can live out. So the idea of sort of being able to showcase that this really is something that can happen, and it really can happen anywhere. You just have to start with a step, is what really just, like I said, kept tugging at me, and what really engaged me to wanna, to wanna do this.
Hi, I'm Dominic Coleman, and my pronouns are he, they.
I'm Jennifer McQueen, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
I'm Adam Lincoln Lane. My pronouns are he, him. And this is our documentary, Merced Pride.
Documentary film about the making of Merced Pride 2023.
We hope y'all enjoy. I'm in my rainbow heaven. Really want to thank you all for being here. It is a huge deal. My name is Jennifer. I'm the chair of the festival. This is the third year that the Pride Festival is taking place on such a main stage in our town, in downtown. There's no possible way we could put on a street festival if we didn't have volunteers willing to come and help. I'm Jennifer McQueen, immigrant from South Korea, mother of 3, and CEO and founder of Central Valley Pride. Just as I had strong role models to show me to be a driven, motivated, confident person, I want my children to also be able to watch me do some of these things and take something like a Pride Festival and say, you know what, I can actually do this, and there's some pretty great things I can do with it, and then actually follow through and make that happen.
Downtowns are kind of the heart of a city. And when that heart is strong, the rest of the city is stronger.
Like Pride celebrations for places like ours, in smaller towns in the Central Valley, are not just a sign of joy and happiness and togetherness and community building, but it is also a celebration of literally existing another day.
While we have very strong, I think, protections in some of our bigger cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles and some of the other places, it is really here in the Central Valley that has become a battleground, right? These are the places where we need to do the most work, the most education, actually invest resources in getting the word out.
Being able to put on a Pride celebration in such a public, open, visible place and way, it gives this opportunity for people to live in a way that they don't experience on the other days being here.
Gosh, the thing about Pride, it brings people together. It brings community awareness that there's just love out there.
As a community and as humans, love is love, and it's time to accept and be compassionate and more kind to each other.
Everyone, we all want to be recognized and represented. We want to be seen, we want to be heard. And if that's not the case, it's always good to throw a party.
So much has to happen to put a celebration like this on, starting with the process with the city council approval. When you get city council approval to put on a festival like this, that is your elected city leaders in all the districts saying that they welcome you, they accept you, they want to include us in the community as a whole. I think a lot about the privilege I have as a, cis, heteronormative presenting person in a relationship. There's a lot of privilege that comes with that. I don't have to let people know that I'm queer identifying if I don't want to, per se. But I think about all the people who endure these kinds of things every single day just for existing, and maybe can't or are not yet in a place where they have the tools to say, but it's not me, it's your homophobia. It's not me, it's your transphobia that's the problem. I'm not the problem, you're the problem. Having experienced a lot of pain and a lot of trauma as a survivor and a fighter, somebody who does make it out on the other side, there are definitely ways that you can use that to positively impact the people around you, the people you serve, and even, on the path of continued growth for yourself. It only serves as a bigger drive to continue to do all the things that I and Central Valley Pride are currently doing. It kind of is a big circle. My trauma and my difficulties are helped by keeping a healthy perspective of how could this be for somebody else and how can I change that? The way that you should move about life is that if there is something happening that really impacts you, means something to you, is important to you, and there is something that you are able and capable of doing about it, then that is an indication that you are the person that is supposed to be doing something about it. Kind of where you fit in anyways, like right in the heart of the youth zone.
The inspiration behind this film was kind of my love for sustainability and community gardens, something I've been passionate about for a really long time. I actually started a community garden in my hometown, so it sort of led me to this topic. We do everything on a zero budget, low budget type of independent style, and community media just in general is so important for that, and it actually allows so many people who would not have access to equipment. There's different people in the Big Tell right now who are amateurs, who are professional filmmakers, but they just came together because they have a passion for the story that they're telling, and meeting them all during the meet and greet, you can tell that's why they're there. It's not because of the money, it's not because of the equipment, it's really just because they want to tell that story. My name is Angelica Hernandez, and this is Christian Tyler, and our film is To Plant a Garden, and that is a portion of a larger quote by Audrey Hepburn: to plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow, and our film is about believing in tomorrow.
We hope you enjoy.
Yeovil to me is a space where a lot of different things can happen. We have a farm, we have a garden, we have an outdoor classroom for kids. But bigger than that, it's very biodiverse, plant-wise, but also humans and animals. I kind of love that it grows a little wild.
Yeovil is a 7.5 acre community garden and urban farm training center located in Southwest Fresno. It really encompasses a lot of different ways that we can engage people in creating their own localized food system. We're teaching our farmers and our gardeners to use more regenerative agriculture techniques so that we're working with nature and not against nature. And then most importantly, teach children from the neighborhoods where their food comes from and how it looks like to grow their own food.
The way that we do things here at Yeovil definitely challenges our current food system. With organic practices, we let nature kind of do her thing and we try and mimic her. This piece of land has been through a lot.
I see a lot of farmers, community, kids, and then you look up and you see this factory. It just looks very weird.
South of us, that's a landfill. Behind that is the Darling Meat Rendering Factory and the Foster Farms Factory.
So it does spark up a lot of conversations. What is it doing to the air? What are the effects on the people that live in the area?
When they are processing chicken and other meat things, there's this smell that's just like really intense.
The smell is definitely so bad to the point where you will gag upon parking your car before you even open the door.
The factory also provides scavenging grounds for some of the birds in the area.
At least once a month, we'll find a dead egret. We believe that these protected birds are being harmed with the food that they're eating from this chicken factory.
Sometimes we'll have chicken heads around. One of our team members also got guts dropped on his head one time.
Something fell on my shoulder and it looked like a worm. And I picked it up and like played with it because I thought, oh, it's a worm. And it was like a chicken intestine. When we first experienced the factory, we learned that there was a group in West Fresno, or many groups over the years, that had tried to get it to move or close down.
Welcome to the August 15th meeting of Fresno City Council.
I'm here to say thank you, first of all, to all of those who've been involved. I moved here in 1956, and at the time when we moved here, there were 2 grocery stores in our community, a lot of small businesses. Fig Garden had fig trees with figs on them, and West Fresno was declining. The Darling plant has been there for many years, even before I moved here. Historically, these plants are located in communities of color and low income. So most of the time, people in those situations don't have time, and sometimes not the know-how or the staying ability to get involved in trying to change things in their community. But we feel this is very important, and we've had a lot of help and a lot of support. There's still much to be done, and we know that it's not quite over the finish line yet, but we're holding out for the finish. We care enough about Fresno that we want to see it to continue to grow. And we thank you for your concern that you've shown for West Fresno. However late it may be, we're still appreciative. Thank you very much.
Community gardens can be revolutionary. I think they can be subversive spaces to create different food systems. Hopefully when kids come out here, or adults, and they learn the power of growing and picking their own food, I think that's definitely, not to sound too cheesy, but planting a seed.
I think the work here matters because it gives people permission. It allows people to dream and hope. Our food forest, for example, planting 250 trees in a day, I was in tears by the end of the day seeing so many people show up and excited to plant a tree that it got done in 4 hours. That's pretty radical and decolonizing, and I think it's very healing. And we all need a lot of healing right now.
One of my favorite sayings is, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today.
So my film, my documentary film, is about Rosalinda Alexander and her Green Rose Productions. Rosalinda is a singer, she is a director, she is an executive director of her production company. She works with disabled adults in making amazing productions. She's been working with them for over 10 years and putting on great shows. I think filmmaking it really opens up a network of storytelling that you can really open up people's minds to different stories, different circumstances. I think through this film we show that there's more to here than just the gateway to the Sequoias, that Visalia has a lot of talented people here. Hello, my name is Bill Henshaw, father, educator, and filmmaker. I'm pleased to share with you my documentary, From Disabilities to Abilities, The Green Rose Revolution, starring Rosalinda Alexander and her amazing students. Come join the film.
My name is Rosalinda Verde Alexander, and I'm the Executive Director and Founder of Green Rose Productions, a nonprofit, a 501c3 founded here in Visalia, California. Well, Green Rose Productions started back in 2009. I moved back to Visalia after I graduated from Point Loma Nazarene University. I graduated after studying classical music and being in opera productions in college. I joined the San Diego Opera Chorus and the San Diego Lyric Opera. and I really fell in love with the artwork. So I wanted to move back to Visalia and create that in my community. Verde is green in Spanish, and Rosalinda means pretty rose. So it is an homage to my father. My father was very proud to be a Verde. Green is the color of the heart chakra. I believe that this nonprofit's focus and the way that it'll retain its strength and purity will be if we remember to do it through our heart.
Rosalinda Verde Alexander started Green Rose Production Company for the purpose of expressing yourselves through the arts, mainly for people with disabilities.
Green Rose Productions, we've made the focal point being people with disabilities, and that ranges from people who are autistic, who have physical disabilities, intellectual disabilities, and that's never the forefront of what we show an audience. Sometimes you can't see what somebody's disabilities are. With people who have Down syndrome, it's a little more visibly pinpointed. However, that's not what we're focusing on. We're focusing on the abilities of the performer. We focus more on the super abilities of our actors and playwrights and singers and creators.
You don't have to have a disability. You just come in with your creation and work on it.
Showcasing people with disabilities and showing them in a different light to demystify what that is to some people. I think being in a wheelchair, being deaf or cerebral palsy, being autistic, sometimes that's scary for people. So I think giving back to the community is bringing all of that under one roof and then kind of showcasing the super abilities and not focusing on what can't be done, but what can be done.
Rosalinda wants to bring that out and show everybody what really matters is what you bring to the world. That is your true colors.
Through the California Arts Council, we're given a grant to produce a children's musical. It's called The Sea Empress's Revenge, and it'll be premiering April of 2024 in Visalia, Hanford, and Lindsay.
My name's Elizabeth Flood, and I'm part of Green Rose Productions, and I play the Sea Witch in the show. My villainous laugh. I have gained confidence doing plays because it helps me, interact, I guess, with other actors instead of just being on stage by myself, but also confidence in just performing in public.
I encourage people who want to be on stage, who want to work with people with disabilities, to come and audition for the Sea Empress's Revenge. We do cater to people with disabilities, but we'd like to involve the entire community at large. We want to integrate both factions, both types of people together. I believe that everybody has a challenge, whether it's an intellectual disability or your struggle with math or struggle with ADHD. Everybody has something that we are challenged with. And I think being around people with more severe disabilities can be really enlightening and helpful in one's own growth. So I encourage everybody to come audition, find a role that you like. We need all types of people, dancers and singers and actors alike.
Just be you for who you really are.
When we started, we looked at previous films that were made throughout the years, and we saw that a lot was done for the field workers. We saw a lot was done for just other organizations. We wanted something a little bit different, and we were thinking, well, what's pretty exciting and what's a selfless job? And Air Methods was a really good choice. And it just kind of worked out that it was more exciting for us, and it's for a good cause for people who are selfless at the end of the day. So it ended up working pretty well.
I feel like we kind of also did a little bit of justice, kind of putting them in the spotlight for it once, because I've never heard people talk about them as much, and the people that do, I feel it's the people who get help, and then that's usually where they spread the word. But hopefully we did something good and like help spread. Like, you know, there's more medical transportation out there than just vehicle-wise. My name is Rolando Garcia, and I'm director of Valley Skies.
My name is Akeem Jones, and I'm the co-producer of Valley Skies, and our film is about the untold stories about the untold heroes.
We dedicated our time and efforts for this film. We really hope you enjoy.
Welcome to the heartland of California. The Central Valley is teeming with life. From our agricultural farms to the vibrant communities with hardworking people who rely on the many services provided to them. But when emergencies strike, when seconds count the most, one group of extraordinary individuals takes to the skies every day. From the moment they sign in for their shift, these men and women are on standby, ready to answer the call when disaster strikes. These heroes are always ready to take to the skies.
My name is Rob Moore, and I'm a pilot here at Skylife. This aircraft that we fly is a twin-engine Airbus EC-145. Can fly all type of weather. Flies about 130 knots, 150 miles an hour. Can fly, up to 15,000 plus feet. So it's pretty versatile all around.
My name is Shayla Say, and I'm a flight nurse here with Skylife Air Methods. Biggest challenges for nursing in general is time management and prioritization. That definitely follows through with flight medicine. We prioritize the patient, we prioritize scheduling, we prioritize work-life balance, and without being able to learn that skill within nursing school, it'd be really hard to perform the duties that we need to do for this job.
The best part of working in this company is honestly, it's an easy answer. It's working with all the medics and the nurses. Honestly, what they do is pretty amazing. I've seen so many rescues of people that, shouldn't probably be alive.
My first mission in patient contact was actually a pediatric patient who had been ejected from a vehicle who was not wearing a seatbelt. So my first patient call in this job's in HEMS and helicopter emergency medicine was some people's worst nightmare. We don't want to be the people that are talking to your family members and telling them which trauma center that we need to fly you to.
The pilot side shifts are 12 hours. We can go up to 14 hours. So 12 hours, in that time we probably get, several calls during that time, maybe 1 or 2 calls. Some days none, other days continuous, we fly the whole day. So it just varies. It varies, depends on the call volume.
We have limited resources, we've got limited space in the aircraft. We have to make sure that the medications and the equipment that we have is up to date, nothing's expired. We roll through to make sure that there's no malfunctions. The aircrafts have been restocked properly, and the equipment is all set for us to go. You're only as good as the tools that you're going to be able to use.
Over the years, we've gotten better and better over the years from a safety vantage point. We have night vision goggles now. The aircraft are more sophisticated. We have the capability to fly on instruments, at least with this aircraft. So we have a lot more capabilities actually now. So over the years, safety is improved, my level of training is improved, and then of course you have all the experiences, good, bad, and otherwise, that you accumulate over the years. We work together so closely day after day. I mean, we have rotating crews, but we're always working with the same group of people, so we get to know each other real well.
I think I get fed mostly as a professional when the team succeeds, and so your coworkers and your colleagues get you out of bed. You don't want to let them down. You want to perform to the best of your ability for yourself and for the patient, but you want to work as that team in order to have that dynamic that is successful on a day-to-day basis.
Just to know that we're here as a backup. If you're in a serious situation, a car accident, anything medical might happen at your house or otherwise or anywhere, we're always here 24/7, and the medical crew are the best. So they really bring the hospital out to to wherever you are.
We all have a role to play, and we all have one goal, one goal to come home.
Ben's Cafe started off as a curiosity. We purchased the building in downtown Parlier, and everyone would always come up to us talking about, hey, are you opening up Ben's Cafe? Are you reopening up Ben's Cafe? Question after question, we learned more about it. And it was something we always wanted to find out. And this documentary gave us an opportunity to actually dig into the history of the building and what it meant to the people in Parlier and the Japanese community around there too. One of the best things about this is learning about Ben and his family. How much of a character he was, how much he meant to the community. After services in Parlier, like a lot of the people would go to Ben's after, learning all that stuff, learning how Parlier was back in the day, because I know a lot of people who live there now didn't realize how big the Japanese people were a part of the community. Hi, I'm Antonio Ramirez from Vodo Studios. Our documentary is Ben's Cafe. I hope you enjoy.
If I ever need some like R&R, nobody bother me, need to go away for a weekend, like I'm going to Parlier, nobody will know where to find me. No one even knows what Parlier is.
Parlier is just a small town just 20 miles southeast of Fresno.
Lo que encontré cuando llegamos es que este era un pueblito de puro farm workers. La gente estaba emigrando de Texas, de Nuevo León, de Arizona a los trabajos aquí, ¿verdad?
Most of the jobs were related to ag, either out in the fields on the farms or in the packing sheds.
In the daytime, people were cordial. Kids used to always walk down, downtown. There was no problems. Now, nighttime was a whole different animal because Parlier had more bars than stores.
I think they had said there was like over 20 bars or pool halls or places that sold beer in this small little 2-block radius.
Families, they would avoid downtown in the evening, at night, because it was crazy.
Guys that would come out of the bar drunk. There were women prostitutes, fights, and sometimes shootouts. We were called more the Cantina town. That's where our reputation was.
But Ben's Cafe was always a nice central point where people could come and feel community and be safe.
When I think about Ben's, I think about kind of like coming to Grandma and Grandpa's house, but always welcoming. You come in the door and it's kind of like everybody knows everybody.
It was good. Best beef over rice you can get anywhere.
Everybody knew Ben's Cafe. He'd always throw something else in, or you gotta try this. And he's the one that got us to try other things. And before you knew it, we had tried almost everything on his menu.
Ben's Cafe was my dad's restaurant in the main street of Parlier on Fresno Street. It was a Chinese restaurant, but my dad was Japanese.
The Japanese community, they had a place to go to eat and see friends. Like a big family get-together sometimes.
The guys that would hang out there, they weren't necessarily all Japanese. There was Caucasians and Mexicans and Japanese getting together and mingling and stuff.
A lot of farmers would come in, so, it was like a place to hang out.
One person would have a dice, and they would spin the dice to see who would pay for coffee. I think the coffee was a quarter back in that day. They would sit there for hours on a quarter coffee. My dad was a really nice guy. Do anything for anybody. He enjoyed watching people eat his food. My mom was a social butterfly. She remembers everybody. My sister didn't like working in the front. She only did the dishes. And I would be taking the order, getting them their water. So we lived behind the restaurant. My dad had built a home with just 2 bedrooms in the back with 1 bathroom. When I was little, I didn't like it. We didn't have carpet. We couldn't have a slumber party because we had to sleep on the floor, and everybody smoked back then. So we either smelled like cigarettes or we smelled like chow mein. If we had to go out that night, we'd take a shower and then we'd run through the restaurant and get out of there so we wouldn't smell.
Unfortunately, at that time, there was a little bit of unrest going on in Parlier.
My dad had his friends over playing cards, and someone had started a fire.
Somebody threw a firebomb in the last building.
And it spread over to Johnny's, and then we got fire damage of our roof.
And then something really maybe only happens in a small town. All the farmers, they all came. And before the end of the day, they had all the burnt debris taken down, They hauled it off, and it was just, ready to start rebuilding. And it was just really heartwarming to see that, yeah.
And so we had to move out while they fixed the restaurant up. We had a good time because we finally had a house with carpet.
To me, the restaurant never changed. It seemed like it was always the same. We get there and see people, and everybody looked older. You sit down and talk to them like nothing has changed. I kind of knew he was talking about retiring, but then he stayed there. Even though he was closed, he lived in the back, and that's where he stayed for quite a while.
I had a great childhood, living at Ben's Cafe. Yeah, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Got to know all my parents' friends, and even though I hated it at the time, I look back and it was a good time to grow up in Parlier and live in that era.
The inspiration for this film it's always been about our community. It's about the love of music, and it's just about teaching. Actually, it's about a teacher that retired is still working, with our community and just teaching, his passion. It's really about, learning, growing, being exposed, and understanding sounds and music, stuff that we've sometimes hear, but we're not really, sometimes we don't really know exactly where it's coming from. But it's really about just, opening up and learning about new things. Maybe, again, things that maybe we haven't really heard before. We have so many subjects that are, underexplored, that I do believe that, in the right hands, in the hands of people that actually care, that we could share these stories. And I think our community is rich, and I'm very grateful that people are invested in our communities. Hola, mi nombre es Adán Ábalos, and I want to thank you for watching Reaching Alcala.
Jazz. Latin jazz. It's in us. It's in everything we do. I grew up in the Central Valley. Like most of us Chicano kids, not much was expected of me or is expected of us. We're invisible to most. Don't see, can't hear our culture, our roots. If they'd seen or heard me back when I was a kid, hungry, they would have seen that I was a writer, a creative thinker, mischievously carving notes on that bench during lunch. These notes, these sounds. If things were different, you would have never been allowed to hear them. Couldn't play them or perform them in most public spaces. Some, not even on the radio. Davis, Train, Horn, Simone, Machito, Poncho, Puente. That's how powerful they were. Still are. Prohibited sounds. Prodigies, legends, performing their notes and sounds to a selected few, hundreds, even thousands. Yet, they would enter and leave time after time through the back door. Now, we freely play and listen to those same notes, the same sounds. We're allowed to pass through the front doors, seemingly with little thought. You asked about me? Let me share this. You know what a rhizome is? A rhizome, a root that continuously flows horizontally in the dark, underground, never dormant, entrenched in the earth. And then, when all celestial elements are right, they burst, explode, and let themselves be seen and heard. Our music, our culture. We're a rhizome people, rhizomatic thinkers with notes and sounds that flow sideways, back and forth, always in motion. From the ashes, from all that popular mainstream noise, we move. Jazz, Latin jazz, it's who I am. It's who we are.
No Te Here o Te Hiroa, which also means For the Love of the Culture, is a short documentary that explores the impact and legacy of the Polynesian Club of Fresno, started by Linda Kuma and her husband Kole Kuma. In 2020, there was a call for filmmakers for the Big Tell, and I saw an opportunity to explore Polynesian culture further with the Polynesian Club of Fresno, which at that time had been operating for 49, 50 years. And I thought it was a good opportunity to explore the legacy one cultural group in the Central Valley had on the community. Fundamentally, what's really impressive is the themes, the stories that come along with the culture and the dancing, how it teaches us how to live, how to be better people, what it means to remember our ancestors and keep them in mind as we go about our daily lives. Hi, my name is Hashim Hassan, and I'm the filmmaker behind No Te Here o Te Hiroa, For the Love of the Culture, and this film explores the legacy and impact of the Polynesian Club of Fresno over its 51 years and the family at its heart.
In Polynesian culture, you just don't take any name that you want. It has to be given to you. And one of our teachers told us, you don't have a name yet. And we said, that's right, we just call ourselves the Polynesian Club of Fresno. And he said, when I know who you are, I'll give you a name. When he gave us the name, I was so thankful because it means for the love of the culture. That's why we dance.
In the first place, the group No Te Here o Te Hiroa.
My name is Martha Elena Alakuma, and I'm one of the Kuma children, which means I'm one of the people that take care of this group. From a business point of view, I'm the owner, but from a creative point of view, I'm the director. The Polynesian Club of Fresno is a place where the Polynesians here in the Central Valley can find other people like them. It's also a place for people who have seen or heard the music of Polynesia or seen the dancing and fallen in love with whether it's the aloha spirit or the cultures of Polynesia or just the music and dance. And this again, this is my dad's dream. He wanted to make sure that his children had a connection back to our culture. He was a musician and he wanted to continue that here so that we would have a tie back.
It started just getting together, enjoying each other's company, learning dances, learning about the culture. There was lots of events 40, 50 years ago, just like there is now, and we started finding out about them and going to different places.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to say aloha. The CMAC Foundation
has the responsibility of being a culture keeper and the responsibility of doing things correctly, accurately, not just entertainers, but teaching about the culture and making sure that what we do is accurate. So it's not just cute or it's not just kind of like I saw in a luau once in Hawaii, but that people understand, you know, the values of the Polynesians and the way they live. They are learning about the legends and stories of this island. Their growth in skill, obviously, but the understanding of the stories and legends of the island of Raiatea, phenomenal.
And the thing that was beautiful about our group was that this was not their culture, but they came to love this culture.
So we have a couple who brought their young children to dance, who are now adults and have their children dancing, and then their mother as well. So we've got 4 generations like at once right now at the studio. This is my generation's turn to take care of this group. My parents started this. My mom has done the work forever. I mean, we're 51 years now, and my mom has been active and taking care of everything for 51 years with the help of my brothers and myself.
As I got older, it got a lot easier and a lot nicer because now I basically welcome everybody when they get here, and I get to spend time with the children. I can read to them, I can tell them stories, and I can feed them.
This next generation coming up is talented and passionate, and I know that our group is going to be in great hands in the years and the generations to come because of them. It's exciting to see.